Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paola and this is a new video in the 12 days of bookmas. For today's video, I thought it would be fun to talk about my 2024 reading projects. So without any further ado, let's get started. The first reading project that I took on in 2024 was the book-to-screen adaptations. This was all about reading books that were turned into movies or shows in 2023. And so I managed to read a grand total of 9. I read The Color Purple by Alice Walker, Agatha Christie's Halloween Party, Elvis and Me by Priscilla Beaulieu Presley, Survival of the Thickest by Michelle Buteau, Judy Blume's Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Wen, and Ruin and Rising, Six of Crows, and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Out of those 9, I would say my top 3 in no particular order are Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Wen, Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume, and The Color Purple by Alice Walker. My next reading project was all about Storytell. So in part 1, because this is a 2-part challenge, I read/listened to 8 books. The main goal was to read all of these books by April 21st because it was the day the offer or the deal expired. And so I got to read whatever I wanted, and I read Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi, Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, One Dark Throne by Kendare Blake, A Princess in Theory by Alisa Cole, and Her Night with Santa by Adriana Herrera. Then I decided to extend my stay at the Storytell app, and so I decided to go for a weekly thematic TBR to get as much as possible out of another month. For the first week, I read books about sisters. So I got to read Two Dark Reigns and Five Dark Fates by Kendare Blake, as well as Lulu and Milagros Search for Clarity by Angela Velez. The second week's theme was all about reading fat main characters, and so I read Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli and Dumpling and Pumpkin by Julie Murphy. The third theme was oldest books on my iPad, and I got to read Sanctuary by Rebecca Weatherspoon, with a small note that I intended to read 2 other books, but one I ended up DNFing, and the other one was a little too long, so I couldn't focus on 3 books in 1 week, and so I just shut down and just read this one book, which was fantastic, but I wish I had read at least another one. The fourth week was all about Morgan Matson, and to be clear, only 2 of these books are on the Storytell app, but Amy and Roger's Epic Detour, Since You've Been Gone, and The Unexpected Everything were available to read for free at simonandteen.com the entire month of May, and so I dedicated 1 whole week to read these 3 books. And A Night to Remember is an audio exclusive thing that I read sort of for craft purposes. I really wanted to get a sense of what it was like to write such a short story. And for the 5th and final week, I just got to read whatever I wanted. And so I decided to continue the Beards and Bondage series by Rebecca Weatherspoon. The 3rd and final book is Harbor. And I also got to read Flame in the Mist by Renee Adier. As for my favorites, I picked one for each week. Lulu and Milagros Search for Clarity, Pumpkin by Julie Murphy, Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, Sanctuary by Rebecca Weatherspoon, and Harbor by Rebecca Weatherspoon. During the summer, I joined not 1, not 2, but 3 whole readathons. The first one being Tome Topple, and this is all about reading your 500 plus page books. And this is hosted by Thoughts on Tomes, Perpetual Pages, and Tori Morrow on YouTube, as well as Gaia over at La Lettrée Secreta. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is their Instagram. Sean over at treatyoshelf.blog, and Sierra What's Up CC on TikTok. I had 3 books on my TBR, but I got to read only 2. I got to read Babel by R.F. Kuang, which is speculative historical fantasy, dark academia, set in 1830s London. And I also got to read Love Rosie by Cecilia Ahern. This is contemporary epistolary romance, and it is set in Dublin. My second reading challenge in the summer was Summerween. This one is hosted by Gabby Reads over at @_my fictional world on Instagram. There were several prompts, and I got to fulfill 4, I think. Let's check it out. Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. These fulfill the prompt of read a thriller or horror book. Burn for Burn by Jenny Han and Shivan Vivian. These fulfilled the prompt of read a book in the dark. I distinctly remember reading this one over at my aunt's house when we were doing a little sleepover. Because of the synopsis and the covers, I feel like they gave me Pretty Little Liars vibes, but it's a much more contemporary, kind of mysterious story than mystery, thriller, murder mystery thing like Pretty Little Liars. So just like putting that out there in case you're curious about this book. Next, I read The Grimy and the Greedy by Megan Curley, and this one fulfilled the prompt of read a book with 5 words in the title. And finally, I got to read You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Bayron. This one with the prompt of read a book set in the summer. The third and final summer challenge that I joined was the Libro FM Audiobook Champion Challenge, and this one was all about reading as many hours on audio as you could between July 16 and July 26 to earn a free audiobook and be entered for a chance to win 3, 6, or 12 audiobooks based on how many hours you read. And so I got to read 9 whole books that amounted to, like, I think 27 hours, something like that. These are the books that I read: Barely Floating by Lilian Rivera, El Defo by Cici Bell, Who the F Are You and Who the F Cares by Huda Fami, Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert, 4 Eids and a Funeral by Farida Abike Iyimide and Adiba Jagerdar, Minor Detail by Adania Shibli, Pretty by KB Brookins, and The Art Thief by Michael Finkel. And because this was in honor of the Olympics, I also wanted to do a little bit of a top 3 with the bronze, the silver, and the gold. So bronze went to The Art Thief by Michael Finkel. Really solid nonfiction book about a prolific art thief. It felt more like listening to a podcast more so than a book. So I highly recommend this one. Honestly, Life is Stranger Than Fiction has never rang truer than when I read this book. Silver would go to 4 Eids and a Funeral by Farida Abike Iyimide and Adiba Jagerdar. Solid YA contemporary romance, flashbacks, life goals, all of that mixed with the shared goal of saving the town's Islamic center, made for a really high-stakes love story. And the gold medal would absolutely go to Huda Fami and her Who the F Are You and Who the F Cares graphic novels. These were just so funny and honest. During the fall, I hosted Latinx Book Bingo with my good friends Cande and Sofia. I will leave their Instagrams linked down below. This year in particular was incredibly fun because we got to build our own bingos, and so I got to read a total of 12 books. The first 4 ones were books that I owned: Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson, Don't Date Rosa Santos by Nina Moreno, In the Country We Love by Diane Guerrero, and Quemar el Miedo by El Colectivo Las Tesis. 4 other books that I read were part of my ARCs, my advanced reader copies from before, aka before I deleted my NetGalley and then I revived it again. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The books that I read were Racial Innocence by Tania Caterina Hernandez, Dreaming of You by Melissa Lozada Oliva, The Curse and Spectacle Key by Chantel Acevedo, and Our Way Back to Always by Nina Moreno. And then these other 4 books are kind of loose in terms of the thing that unites them. So It Happened to Anna was the group book. We Came to Welcome You was a buddy read that I did with Colleen. Cruzita and the Mariacheros by Ashley Granillo is part of my 2024 EARC TBR. And Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Basterrica, which in this case I would categorize as a hyped book. Out of those, I would say my top 5, again in no particular order, would be Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson, Racial Innocence by Tania Caterina Hernandez, Our Way Back to Always by Nina Moreno, We Came to Welcome You by Vincent Tirado, and Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Basterrica. Alrighty, so that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you joined any fun readathons, and if you haven't already and you'd like to, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!